Another fear that I would have is that you lose your train of thought. I found what I did, and it's advice that you would give, that it's not a thing to do, is you try to be overly prepared. And if you're overly prepared, then it can actually, stop the flow and the spontaneity. But you had a very good hack that you recommended about having a pre-prepared question. If there was a time where you lost your flow or lost your train of thought, and if you practice it, it can seem quite natural or part of your speech itself that you plan to do it.
Yeah, so there are many things that you can do to plan in advance. So getting back to your question about negative talk, you can have a mantra that you say, a positive affirmation that replaces the negative thought. So I often, when I present, and even though I still get a little nervous, I worry about my impact. And I'll say negative things like, oh, I could have prepared more, or wow, that speaker before me was really good. And so I have a little mantra that I say, which is simply, I have value to bring. I remind myself that there's value in what I do, and that I've been invited to speak and people want to hear that. So having a positive mantra is something you can do in advance of speaking, and that helps. So too is having what I call a question at the ready. So if I blank out, or I need to reset myself, I can simply ask that question and it will help me get on track. So, when I teach the same class every quarter, twice a quarter, and I've done that for 13 years, I sometimes wait, did I say that in this class or I can't remember. And as I get older, it gets even harder. So when I have one of those moments, rather than pause and say, wait a minute, I forgot if I've done this, I simply ask my students a question. I'll say, let's pause for a moment and think about how we can apply what we've just been talking about. And that's just enough time for me to begin thinking. My students don't think, oh, he forgot. They think, oh, how could we apply this? So there are things we can do in advance. We can have a positive mantra that we can say to ourselves to cancel out negative self-talk. We can have a question at the ready that will work in many situations. And the cool thing about this, Shay, is just having that ready, not even if we deploy it, makes us feel more confident because we know we can do something if one of those situations arises.